An introduction. He is one of the most inspiring men that I've ever met. And I've met a few inspiring men. When Ethan was still a graduate student at Harvard, we met in the basement of the US Capitol and started talking about drug legalization maybe 20 years ago. His undergraduate degree, his law degree, and his doctorate all from Harvard, has a master's from the London School of Economics. He's been a professor at the Woodrow Wilson School at Princeton University. And 10 years ago, he founded the Drug Policy Alliance. Ethan Nadelmann. Ethan Nadelmann.
Thank you. I love SSDP. Just coming here and feeling this energy here, seeing all of you here, seeing this thing growing and growing and growing, and we're in a moment in history right now where there's only one direction we're going, which is forward and getting bigger and more powerful and changing the world. So I think this is absolutely spectacular. Now, I should say, what Matt and Mike asked me to do is just to talk a little bit tonight about what's going on in drug policy reform around the country. By the way, can you all hear me fine? Is it not muffled or anything? It's good? And then tomorrow to talk more about the role of you all and how you fit into all of this stuff here. So just to give a quick overview on this stuff, for Drug Policy Alliance, as for SSDP, we're not just about one piece of the drug war, right? It's about the whole thing. It's about the over-incarceration, it's about the racial injustice, it's about the stupidity of our international policies, it's about the way we deal with people who are suffering with addiction, it's about the way we deal with marijuana, it's the way we deal with psychedelics, it's the way we deal with people living with pain. It's wherever the drug war, the laws and the attitudes are fucking up something, fucking up good policy, smart, sensible policy, getting in the way of science, compassion, and reason, that defines drug policy reform. That defines where we work on it. When I think about this historically, I think about back in the 90s, when we first started winning the ballot initiatives. There was Prop 215, the medical marijuana initiative in California. There was Prop 200, the treatment initiative in Arizona. Won both big. And then we went and we won the medical marijuana in Alaska and Oregon and Washington, Colorado, Nevada, and Maine. We won acid forfeiture reform initiatives in Oregon and Utah in 2000. We won Prop 36, the treatment instead of incarceration initiative in 2000. That was the biggest reform of prisons and sentencing since the repeal of alcohol prohibition. We won a lot. There was a sense of momentum. We were starting from way back because the late 80s were the height of the drug war. And then what happened was 2001. 2001 with Bush, Cheney, Republican, not just Republican takeover, but the reactionary takeover of the national government. And then 9/11. I remember we had little bumper stickers printed up in like 99, 2000, where we talked about the new anti-war movement. And you know what that was? That was us, the new anti-war movement. And then 9/11 happens. We had to throw those bumper stickers away. We just couldn't run on that. And at that point, there wasn't much we could do in Washington. Maybe fight on the Higher Education Act thing. But it meant sort of hunkering down and getting into the states, beginning to work the states, a little bit on initiatives, but also working on sentencing reform, working on needle exchange, working on preventing overdose fatalities, all that sort of stuff, building up credibility. But always combining two things. On the one hand, working incrementally, Capitol Hill, state legislatures, on those issues where the public was ready to change. Legalize needle exchange, reduce overdose fatalities, roll back the mandatory minimums, treatment instead of incarceration, medical marijuana, maybe a bit of decrim, working with parents, PTAs, that sort of stuff. That's where the lion's share of our energies went. But what distinguished us from all of our allies working in criminal justice and health policy and all this sort of stuff was that everything we do and everything we've done and everything we will do is linked to a vision. And that vision is about uprooting the mentality and the laws of the drug war in our society. It's about uprooting that. It's about ending the prohibition about ending the prohibition, certainly of the drugs that we put into our body, and as much as possible, ending our reliance on the criminal justice system in dealing with drugs in our society. That's the vision. Pursue the incremental, focus on the vision, and it's a combination of now, look at the momentum now. I mean, this is the thing. First of all, on the marijuana issue, my God. You all saw the Gallup poll, right? Everybody, raise your hand if you saw the Gallup poll from October. If you didn't see it, just Google on Gallup poll marijuana, right? Just came out in late October, and I think you all know a jump from. They've been doing this poll for like 30 years, asking, do you support legalizing marijuana, the use of marijuana? It's, it went up to about 30% 30 years ago, 1979. It dropped to like 22, 23% by the mid-'80s. Steadily rose, and I think you know this. It jumped by 8 points from 2005 to 2009, from 36 to 44%. There are now 54% of Democrats say they want to make marijuana legal. 53% of people out west. 50% of people under the age of 50. Independents are split more or less. There were 12 and 13-point jumps in certain categories, and the gender gap, with women always lagging behind men in support for legalizing marijuana, somehow disappeared. I don't know why, but it disappeared. So, I mean, there was this huge, you look at the Western state polls, California, all this sort of stuff, it's moving. So I think that 2009, 2010 becomes the year in which our struggle shifts its emphasis from medical marijuana to the ending marijuana prohibition, right? I mean, we're not... And I don't want you to forget that when all of you graduate and go work for Harborside. Okay, the medical marijuana folks, right? I mean, I think it's great that jobs are opening up and all this sort of stuff, right? And I hope that many of you become very rich and remember to support the cause when you are rich, right? But I mean, the fact of the matter is, we have to, as we move into as medical marijuana becomes institutionalized, as some of you get jobs in that industry, right, which is great, we got to keep moving forward on ending the prohibition entirely. Has to happen. I worry at times. Is there going to be a conflict? We've never been a movement that's been about profit, about people making money, right? Never been that case. It's beginning to happen a little bit. I'm not against profit, but I'm wary when profit starts to drive the political movement, a movement for freedom and social justice. So we have to be. We gotta just be attentive. Doesn't mean don't take the job there. It just means being conscious. Being conscious. Because right now, it was last month, 2 months ago, when Tom Amiano's, his bill, first bill, marijuana legalization bill, to win in a legislative committee, judiciary committee, that was a first. And bills being introduced in Washington and Rhode Island and New Hampshire and a range of others, some of you working on those things, it's moving. The tax and regulate, the thing that's coming out of Amsterdam, I mean, we'll see. I'm committed, and DPA is committed to helping that thing win. Right? Now, I mean, we gotta... Whether we can raise the money and whether the polling's going to be good enough to inspire people to put the money in, we'll know later this year. But we are committed, and if it doesn't happen, we're committed to laying the groundwork and moving as fast forward as we can and being ready to come back in California in 2, 4, 6 years and go into other states, right? MPP working in Nevada, look at Washington, Oregon, Alaska, you name it. We got to keep moving. And I don't want to leave out the East Coast too. I know our allies at the Better Way Foundation. Hey! East Coast. DPA is committed to getting started the marijuana legalization and prohibition stuff in New York State come next year. And in Connecticut, same thing. We're not just, we're going to start moving that direction. So, look, a lot of us always assume, right, that with medical marijuana, it was going to be about slowly institutionalizing it, getting the dispensaries going, slowly people, they get regulated, maybe they get taxed, everybody gets comfortable with dispensaries providing marijuana to people who are sick or a little bit sick, right? And then at some point, you open that up to everybody. Now, Richard Lee and others have jumped that, leapfrogged, let's say, let's go right for it. I don't know if I would have done it this year, I might have waited a little bit, but he jumped. DPA is committed to making that thing as strong as possible, so we got to see how well we manage it. If that thing wins, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. And you know, when I look at this and step back and ask myself about the politics, you know, look, I'm fighting for this thing to win. Is this going to be like when Gavin Newsom sort of started doing gay marriage here, where you break through and then also there's people are lashing back and you roll backwards, you just jump forward a step and then you're back 3 steps, but now it looks like maybe we're rolling forward 4 or 5? I don't know. But I'll tell you this, our ability to become mature about the way we deal with this stuff, to be smart, to be savvy, I think we're going to have more and more information, more and more research about the messaging that works. And we got to be disciplined. Disciplined about how we put that out there. Not just running to slap something on the ballot, let's go do it, not just running to put a bill up. Discipline. We can build a movement, but the movements that win are the ones that are disciplined. Marijuana... Know your history. Know your history. Because, you know, there was a time 30 years ago when people thought it was just a matter of time before marijuana got legalized, right? Jimmy Carter introduced a federal decriminalization bill. 11 states had decriminalized marijuana. And then, pow! I mean, what happened? Sliding back, it wasn't just about a White House, you know, a health advisor going to a normal party and maybe taking cocaine. It was about not watching our defenses. It was about ignoring the concerns of parents about their young kids smoking marijuana or waking and baking before they even had the phrase, right? I mean, it was about being smart and savvy about how we do this. Because remember, in the end, we don't win unless a majority of your parents and the parents of other kids who aren't here believe that what we believe is better for their country and their kids. They have to be reassured. The rest of it, you know, one way or another, we got to knock out these 3 strikes laws. We just won a major victory on Rockefeller drug law, a 12-year battle in New York. Yesterday, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted unanimously. They didn't reduce 100 to 1 to 1 to 1. They made it 20 to 1, but something happened. There was progress. And my colleague here, Jasmine Tyler, just working around the clock on that stuff with FAM and a whole range of others, just making that stuff happen, right? I mean, and I'll get state by state and in Congress. What Obama administration, I'll tell you this, Obama administration, I'm actually been pleasantly surprised at how good the Obama administration was in the first year. I know that sounds surprising, because I thought it was going to be like what they did on gay marriage, or not gay marriage, I mean gays in the military. I thought it was going to be mañana, wait till next year, which is what he did with that. But what did he do? He came out for needle exchange. He didn't help, but nonetheless, Congress finally repealed the ban on funding for needle exchange. The Justice Department actually, in good faith, started pushing and negotiating for 1-to-1, eliminating the crack powder, racially prejudicial, mandatory minimum sentences. They actually did that. And the Justice Department put out that statement on medical marijuana. That was big. Because what that did, when the Justice Department said we're not going to go after medical marijuana in the states that made it legal, what'd that do? That sent 2 messages. It sent a message to all those states which have already legalized medical marijuana. It sent a message to their attorneys generals and others that said, you can now get your hands dirty in working with this and regulating this sort of stuff. It led to the explosion of dispensaries, at least in Colorado and other places. And the second thing it did, in all the states where we're still trying to legalize medical marijuana, and where the legislators say, well, we can't do it because it's against federal law, that argument doesn't work very well anymore. Because the Justice Department just said, you can do it. So that was very, very significant.